with the intro, I was like, dang.
I,
I
I don't
guess
think
we're
he's
done with it.
I don't think he's done with the intro. He's done with us fumbling around through the intro. Play it. That was perfect timing.
No, we're good, dude. So first big announcement. I had a New York strip for breakfast. Do you ever cook a steak for breakfast?
Almost every day.
Really?
Never.
What kind of steak do you make yourself for breakfast, dude?
Typically, I just eat eggs for breakfast, but the first meal of the day is usually a New York strip. Like yesterday, I had a strip for lunch and a ribeye for dinner.
I feel like
Sheesh.
a nice flank could be good for breakfast.
Flank steak or sirloin, top
And
sirloin with
because
eggs.
it's like fast, you know.
Yeah.
I like cutting.
I've been
up
on
sirloin.
the New York strip grind.
I wasn't gonna do it. I stopped at Teeter and they had like a 3-pack of really nice strips for half off. I was like, oh, I'm copping that. That,
Same.
by the way, white on my palm is not chalk. It's a Gold Bond body powder.
Wow.
Where'd
case
you
you're
just where'd you just put it?
Not on my head. The other round thing with like a couple hairs on it on my body. So
Your areolas.
That's a big word, dude. It sounds like a kind of cereal, areola, really. Okay, so for crescendo, John Young bailed on us.
No.
Yeah, he
There.
pulled,
Let me just say real quick. Their excuses and their reasons. John had a good reason.
he did.
Right.
He did. Wife comes first. Happy wife, happy life, and that's a fact. I will say this though. I'm not mad about our new teammate. And I'm going to throw him out to the Wolves right now so that if he decides to back out come game day, all the fans can drop the hammer on him. But it's going to be me in order of fittest to least fit, or we'll go in order of least fit to most fit. Travis Brault, the Canadian, you're the least fit because you're Canadian. Then Bryson, he's at CrossFit Charlotte with me. Then this dude named Jason Hopper, and then most fit, obviously me at the top. And they're all just going to be fighting for last place. But it's going to be a ton of fun. I've not been this excited to work
And you
out.
hate team competitions.
I've never done one. No, that's not true.
You hate watching them.
I hate watching them for sure, but I can't wait, dude. The first competition I ever did, I did team and we did this RX division, got destroyed. Took last place. So I'm coming for redemption.
Will, what are the odds that team does not compete at Crescendo?
0.
That exact team of those 4 people. And what I'm saying is that either Taylor says, nah, I can't do that. It's way too close to semis. Or Jason says, yeah, I'm not doing that. It's way too close to semis.
I'd give it 85% failure rate.
I like
what?
it.
Travis,
I like
Brault,
it. I was going to say
Brault's
20%. There's a
stuck at the border.
20%. There's a 20% chance that team actually shows up and competes.
Dude, shut up. First off, I'm a lock. I'm not competing at semifinals. I'm not even going to qualify, dude. I'm going to have no chance.
You going on the record right now saying that you're not going to compete at semifinals?
I'll barely make it to quarters, dude. And the thing is,
shut up.
Me, dude, I'm not even
Andrew
kidding.
Hiller got kicked out. There's room for you in quarters.
Oh, sick. Dude, I heard Sevan was potentially on the chopping block. I hope that guy's safe, dude. But he's not on anything, guys. Let him compete. Let the man
Imagine
play.
how hilarious that would be if they came up with an official announcement that they banned Sevan Matosian for steroids.
That's funny. No, dude, we are going to be there, all of us. And if somebody does withdraw, it won't be Travis because that man is solid. It won't be Bryson because I'll spank
he does
him.
whatever you tell him. Yeah, there you will.
That's not true. But and it won't be Bryson. Actually, honestly, has given me so much good feedback over the last couple months. Programming, working out, learning a lot, which is cool. But
Bryson, congratulations. You're the only one that isn't water on a cotton ball.
No, dude, you gave me good feedback all the time.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it doesn't mean that you take it and you put it somewhere. It means you
I
just
do take it
absorb
from you. I take it like an ungreased thing, and I'm not going to go there anyways. But
hey, normally I wouldn't be super excited to talk about any of the teams that have registered so far, but registration opened up today. Or you guys aren't registered yet, I'm guessing.
No, dude, I don't have the money for that right now.
Okay, well, there's 42 spots already taken. There's only 60 spots total among all the divisions. So if you guys
how many spots are left in male?
Like 4. And
hold the spot, dude. Come on.
listen to one of the co-ed teams that signed up today. Emily Meyer, Olivia Kerstetter, Nate Ackerman, and Daniel Coots.
Wow.
Oh boy, they're gonna get clapped.
Youngins. I'm
That's
super
awesome.
They're gonna
excited
get
about having
smacked
them.
around, bro. I hope you guys are listening, bro. You don't bring that smoke, you guys are gonna get clapped.
Bruh.
I think they'll do well. They both, Nate and Daniel.
Who's
have
Emily
competed.
Meyer?
She made the games in the teen division.
She goes to
I want to say
Crash, right?
2 years ago. No, she trains mostly in Columbia at Carolina CrossFit. I think she goes to school down there. But she's like an extended member at Crash. Like she comes and trains all the time. So
Dang.
Me and
She's
Jason
super-
could sign up for mixed pairs with our wives and clap that team.
you hear
we
that?
have
You hear that,
wives.
Nate? You hear that, Daniel? You hear how they disrespect you?
No, dude,
Unbelievable.
it's not disrespect. It's just an accurate appraisal of talents, dude. Okay.
So yeah,
Anyways.
we're gonna I'm gonna try to get some teams announced pretty soon to lure some other semifinals games level teams into the fray. So I'm excited about it.
You said 42 out of 60 spots?
Yeah, I like to say there's only 60 spots, so like 10 heats of 6 teams among all the divisions, but it'll probably push to 70 before it's all said and done when the heat schedules are made. But I like to kind of keep that 10 heat structure so that the days aren't super long.
What
Any
are all the
notable-
divisions?
So there's same-sex divisions, which are novice, intermediate, and advanced. And then there's only one co-ed division, and that's essentially semifinals hopeful teams or established semifinals/games teams.
Okay.
I know who Egghead is. Okay, what are the chances that you think SoCal Tier Wadapalooza is going to be elite pairs?
0.
Like male-female?
I don't know. Same sex or mixed.
10%. Like
Really?
less than 10%.
What's more likely? I feel like they're talking about a format that has not been seen recently in CrossFit. Is what has been promoted. And to me, that's the only thing that makes sense.
Well,
Unless they're talking about the format of the actual competition and it's just like individuals, but the programming is way different.
I would say that they're talking about format in the light of, hey, you have this team, whether it's 4 people, whether it's 3 people, whether it's 6 people, whether it's 8 people, and all of them never take the floor at the same time. Or some of them take the floor at the same time, and then there might be a workout where only 4 people take the floor. So you can play specialists, you can sub people out. It can be more like what I think a lot of the fans are screaming is real team sports, where there's strategy involved, where you're not always as good or bad as your weakest link type thing, because you have
Like a
different
grid
roles
league
on
type
that
of
team.
thing.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, I would think that would be the direction someone would go in that wanted to do something new and nuanced.
Dang.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wait, the adaptive CrossFit games are the same weekend as that?
I think that's correct.
Damn, Mikey Swoosh ain't getting any views.
Yeah, I think Wheel Wad and SoCal are the same week.
I actually feel good.
Hopefully we're there at SoCal.
I feel like that's a positive instead of a negative. Because I feel like people are already like watching CrossFit stuff and I'm like, I'll pop over and watch the wheelchairs go.
Well, see, I
Well,
like that because if you have a break in the action, like you're saying, and you're watching through YouTube, you go to your home screen, you're probably going to get recommended that.
Yeah,
which would be kind of cool. Yeah, I don't think it would take anything away from viewership. If anything, I think it'll probably help it.
No sponsors, vendors, though, according to Barbell Spin. I kind of agree with that. And also in-person ticket sales. Oh, wrong one. I feel like that's probably an unfortunate
I don't feel like there's going to be much crossover of people that are choosing between buying a spectator ticket to the adaptive games versus going to SoCal.
Right, but I mean,
because adaptive games are in Texas.
I'd be curious to know what Brian thinks is no sponsors or vendors, because I went 2 years ago to Wheel Wad when it was in Raleigh, and I would say there were 10 vendor tents outside. It was a pretty cool atmosphere. It was at night. I went to watch Noelle compete. So yeah, outside of the like vendors and products specific to adaptive athletes, how many sponsors will be there is hard to say. So
they were talking about this last night on the Barbell Spin. Would you rather see the Masters, Adaptive, and Teen Games before the real CrossFit Games? I don't know if we can call them the real, but I'll call them the real, or after the CrossFit Games? Would it be better if like it goes semis and then it's all three of those during the summer leading up?
Yes.
Or individual and team CrossFit Games, the real CrossFit Games happens and then they happen after that?
It'd be better if it happened before, while the build up and the anticipation is happening, and while none of the athletes are posting anything because they're all scared to share content of them training before the competition.
And I disagree. I think it would be better to have it after. I think the likelihood of you getting big sponsors that have athlete appearances that people want to come and meet their favorite athlete, you're not going to get those athletes there before the games because they're training for the games. But if you do it after the games during their off season and during the time that they're doing a lot of those sponsorship appearances, like at Wodapalooza, I think you'd be way more likely to get people there just because they want to be able to hang out with Dallin or hang out with Danielle or hang out with Jason.
I personally am of the opinion that the in-person viewership at Adaptive, Masters, Teens games is just never going to be what it is for the elite athletes. Your family's going to go and watch you. Your coaches are going to go and watch you, and people that like you from your affiliate are going to go and watch you. But I don't think anyone's going to watch Masters, Adaptives, or Teens that you've never met before from across the country because they know who you are and they like love you as an athlete. And maybe there's 1% of people are doing that. And I don't think any of the elite athletes are needle movers enough for you to buy a plane ticket, accommodations, and all of that just to go meet, an athlete, so to speak. So I don't know. That's my opinion.
They just need to turn. I think they should.
Will, you got to give yours. You got to give yours.
Oh, I think before, just in general, I think people are excited about the games during that time of year and more likely to be like, oh, I'm really excited about the CrossFit Games coming up. I'll watch some of the Masters, some of the Teens, Adaptive. I think that there is actually a ton of potential in the teen CrossFit Games if done well and kind of reformatted with like good media. Because I think the demographic this is a separate conversation, but I was thinking about linear television, aka ESPN on TV versus YouTube. And I think why having the CrossFit Games on linear television is a big deal is because the demographic of CrossFit is like 35 to 50. Your biggest demographic, and where I think the most opportunity for CrossFit is on digital platforms is teens through college, young adult. And I think that there's potential for the teen games to actually be a really big deal if they could draw in a lot of like their same age demographic to be interested in that. Then I think that they could be successful in that and bringing younger kids and teenagers and college kids into the mix. Thoughts?
I think you're just way smarter than us for thinking about stuff like that.
What is linear television? What's the opposite?
Horizontal
television. What about vertical television, dude?
I don't know why they call it linear, but I just know that's what they call it.
I think teen could have excitement. Did you say this? But just for the fact that it's like, oh, this is what's to come.
Yeah, I didn't say that, but yeah, for sure.
People can get excited about that. Oh, in 5 years, this kid's gonna be fucking spanking Tia or whatever.
Yeah, so let's just say that from June to August, there's that 2 months of kind of dead period. And then from after the first-ish week of August all the way till, Rogue at the end of October, there's also a big chunk of dead. So unless there's going to be, now I guess we have SoCal, right? It's there. Does it even make more sense now that competition is going to be big? It may not be as big as Wodapalooza Miami, but it's going to be huge. Does it just make more sense to slot those other divisions in during that 2 month dead period between semis and the games and just keep it there and keep it consistent? Put one of them in June, put one of them in July, and just go.
Yeah.
Does NorCal Classic happen around the SoCal Tier Wodapalooza?
I think it was It's like maybe 2 or 3 weeks before Crucible. Crucible is usually the second weekend in October. So yeah, I think that sounds like it's in September because it's still pretty hot out there when they're doing that.
So those events, do you think will have any conflict of interest there?
Oh, I don't know. I think Blair and Ben have like been doing their own thing for so long now. I don't think they'll even worry about it. And do we know? I mean, if you guys know and you can't say that, do we know if SoCal is only team, if there is individual, if it's just one or the other, if it's both?
I have no idea. And if it's been said anywhere that I would know, I didn't see it.
Because I think what would be really smart to get those big name athletes there would be to make it team only in the elite division, because athletes are really, really motivated after watching the games that weren't there competing to compete. So you could have a pretty big turnout for those like tier 2 level athletes, but people that just competed at the games are not going to want to compete individually a month out, right? 6th to the 8th, which is right at about a month after the games. But
wait,
you may get a
that's NorCal. That's NorCal Classic, not SoCal.
Oh, that's NorCal. Okay.
Yeah. When is the tier?
But you may get a lot of people that want to do team at SoCal. So that from a standpoint of how do we still get the big names there without having them compete so seriously individually, I think it's smart.
Emily qualified for NorCal. They had some interesting qualifier workouts. What do you think about broad jumps for distance?
So they just had that qualifier, right?
Yep. Did you see that workout?
No. What was it?
It was for time 300-foot broad jump, 20 overhead squat, 10 ring muscle up, 20 overhead squat, 300-foot broad jump, 25-foot increments. Not sure what the standards are for that, what they were for that, but I'm sure it was just feet must be together and can't move, can't walk, can't step, stutter step.
Did they do that in 25s?
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I think from a judging standpoint, unless you do it in person, it makes sense from subjectivity. Like I think a burpee broad jump, you have to have a clear standard and you need that to be done in person. What would be cool is if they did a broad jump in the qualifier and then they did a burpee broad jump at the live competition. It would be a cool way to kind of build on that movement.
I'm pulling these workouts up because there was another workout that, here we go. Let me share the screen. Not this workout. We talked about this last week a little bit. People blasting their elbows wide open on that. But this didn't make sense to me. It was just an ascending EMOM ladder. It's called the aerobic ladder. What is your score? Score is the total number of reps completed. So how many ties were there? Because Emily finished. And I think like Brandon Luckett posted, I don't know if he did it, but he posted a story like added 3 extra minutes for fun. Haha. Like, cool, dude, we get it. So your score is just total reps if you finish. So what if 10 people finish, 20 people finish?
Yeah, that's a good question. But yeah, looking at that last 6-minute window, it looks very finishable.
Right. That's what I was thinking. And it just says score. The score is total number of reps completed. Now, is there a tie break? Let's see this. Burpee over the rower. Nope. Tie break. Nope. Flow. If an athlete makes the 16 burpees, the total time to complete those 16 burpees will be the tie break. So your last round of 16 burpees is your tie break. How do you feel about that?
That's fine.
Okay.
I mean, it'll just come down to seconds for only a handful of people. So yeah, I think that's good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to turn this into a NorCal programming show. I just wanted to cover that.
Some would say that's what we do here. Let's talk about programming. But now that we have Will on, we're going to get down to the nitty gritty, and that's opinions.
Horizontal television.
Exemption opinions.
Oh.
Will feels very strongly about some of the athletes in question over the last 24 to 48 hours. Those being, let's just say Ellie, Katrin, and Roman. Will, what say you on just kind of the whole situation? Like, do you think it's just all of like, let's find out how we can make the words line up with our opinions, or do you think there's some hard stances as far as no, this gets you an exemption, and no, and yes, this does, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think, well, one thing is that there's a lot of words that we're inventing definitions to on both sides. So even if I say I have a hard opinion that Katrin's exemption totally makes sense, that's still an like subjective opinion until we actually know what it means. But when people get, I personally do not, I get what people are saying about Katrin leaving for the season and training. I do not think or know how that applies or why that's a reason that she wouldn't be able to provide CrossFit with evidence saying, hey, I've actually been living here for this long time. And even when I was training, she still has that paperwork to say, actually, I was maintaining a residence in the United States, and her training wherever she's training is irrelevant to that fact of the proof that she's providing to CrossFit. And so if Katrin can say, Katrin isn't even mentioning, there's no reason for her in her application for an exemption to be like, well, actually, I was in Iceland for 5 months during this year. What they're asking for is, and I believe that's written out, is utility bills, lease agreements, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And if she can provide that saying, hey, I have this for that full time maintained in the United States, then I don't understand what the argument is of, oh, well, she wasn't actually training there, because that's not what CrossFit's looking for.
Right. And it to me is near impossible to make that a rule, because how do you prove someone is in the United States for a certain amount of time, training a certain amount of days at a certain affiliate? It just becomes a gargantuan task for them to try to uphold sorting through any of that proof. They're saying, okay, basically, if you pay taxes or, it's a standard residency thing for any like state, for example. So I think it's
I actually like the longer residency rule, because I like the idea of people competing around the world and representing the region that they actually are from. And so the idea of like, hey, just make it wide open wherever you live, that's where you compete, I don't like that. I think it takes away from the idea of the CrossFit Games being this worldwide, hey, there's these athletes coming from all over the world to compete in this thing. They're representing their region. There's some, regional, people are supporting from that country because that's where they live and that's who they're supporting. And so I like the longer of like 3 years. You have to be living somewhere, maintaining some residence for 3 years before you're going to be able to switch.
That's a good rule. This MLK, do you have not Martin Luther King Jr. either? I believe this guy's Michael Lee Kearns. Do any of you guys actually think CrossFit plays favorites? A few games athletes have alluded to that over the years. Then Alyssa, MLK, I don't. It's crazy to me when people say that. Let me just break the unfortunate news to you. They 100% play favorites. JR, agree, disagree?
I think it depends on what it is, and I think it depends what you mean by favoritism. I would say, I think Sevan said this maybe yesterday on the show that they did. There for a while, like, it felt like they expected more from the people that were the face of the brand. They expected more from the champion. So if someone won the CrossFit Games, be harder on them. Go test them more often for PEDs. Make sure that their movement quality and competition is higher than everyone else's, because they're the pinnacle. They're the ones that are representing what we do. So with that mindset, I'm not sure that they play favorites. However, just like any other sport, any people that are responsible for pushing the needle, like, it's kind of like getting calls in basketball. Like, you don't get no reps because you're rich, you're not going to get those no reps. It's like, hey, MJ's going to get those calls, like, at the end of the game. Sorry, he's MJ. That's why he gets those calls. So when you're talking about something like an exemption, sure, people are going to say, well, Katrin's won the games twice. We know she's been living in the United States several different times for a certain number of years. I mean, why would we question that?
I'm talking in a general sense. The company is still small. First off, in life, relationships matter, and whether or not you're popular and likable matters. And it is a popularity contest. And you love saying this, JR, that a fair is a place where they sell pigs and nothing is fair. And if CrossFit HQ likes you more and you have more friends that work for that company, you are going to have more favors, whether that's a conscious decision on their part or unconscious, just because they like you more, performed on your behalf. That's a fact. And there are a lot of examples of that. Brooke Wells, shows the capacity for the movement. Open video is an example. And then some Joe Schmo, Tom, Dick, and Harry bubble athlete gets clapped for his penalties. That's just a perfect example of that. The notion that they don't play favorites, I'm not saying they purposefully do, but if you like someone, you're going to treat them differently than someone you don't like or someone you don't know. That's correct. I don't even have to ask that. They do that. And the examples are everywhere. Look at Dave's relationship with Sevan, for example. Dave loves Sevan. And there's a reason he loves Sevan. Sevan's an amazing dude. But Sevan, I'm sure Dave works really hard to not show that favoritism. But fuck, they're boys. And if you're boys, it is what it is. But yes.
I think the question becomes, and Brian called in and I think got into this a little bit on the show. We may have talked about it last night too on his. The issue is when you're going around and just contacting the people that got approved for exemptions last year and say, if nothing's changed, you're going to be approved again this year. Just let us know everything's the same. And you say yes, but like there isn't that same, okay, well, if it's different for you and you didn't get an exemption last year, let us know and you'll get it. Like based on everything I know about where Ellie lives, where Ellie trains, she lives here. She trains here. Why would she not be able to compete here?
Does she pay taxes here? That's what I think some fucking rule should be. If you don't pay taxes in America, fuck off. Go compete somewhere else.
But
taxes
to Will's
bullshit.
point, and it's a really good one because I didn't really ever think about it that way. I would just think, man, why are you going to make her do all that traveling, spend all that money to go back home to Australia just to compete, to qualify, and then come right back? But from a global representation, from a standpoint of, like all the Australians are competing in Australia, that makes sense. And the spots that they get to the games are going to be taken by the best Australians in the world. You're not going to have some of the best Australians in the world taking a spot from North America West. But it's easy for me to sit here and say, when I'm not the one who has to go through all that trouble to get over here, to get moved, to go back, to adjust again, to get into a training environment, just to be able to go and perform, to make it back to the games, just to come right back.
And you're also not the Torian. I mean, I would assume people running semifinals too, like Torian Pro, they're like, okay, so we're just gonna lose all our popular athletes that decided to go live in the United States, who aren't going to compete at Torian. And so I think the system in general every system is going to have issues. And this one has different issues. Like if in this year, we give, let's say Tia and Ellie both competed in Torian last year. This year, they got exemptions competing in the United States. As far as I know, the spot allocation for United States isn't going to change over to where it's like, all right, those 2 spots. Now we got 2 more spots in the US because we have, right? So it's just there's going to create some weird issues like that in this system. And I think some of them you just have to live with. Obviously it sucks for Ellie. It's easy to acknowledge. It's like, yeah, that really does suck. Traveling to Australia is not easy. It's expensive. And I think, and part of it's like this exemption, the rules shifted. And so you could say like, oh, well, she should have known that moving to the United States that this was going to be a thing for 3 years, but she didn't. Whenever I don't think that was a rule when she first made that decision.
Yeah. I mean, being frustrated with the inconsistency is warranted for sure. Like,
is it?
We can put that out there
because the inconsistency is consistent. Yeah.
I think in the same situation, you would be frustrated if it wasn't consistent year to year.
Right. I agree with Sevan when he says, don't argue with reality. And that is, you should know when you're dealing with CrossFit that they have changed things relatively drastically every single year for almost the past 10 years. Things are different. You also know that the CrossFit Games are held in the United States. So if you don't want to pay for travel, you should probably make arrangements to move to the United States and become a resident so that you're safe to compete here. Otherwise, unfortunately, like it's kind of been also her MO to complain about how expensive it is to go to the CrossFit Games for like the past 3 years. I remember like 2 years ago, there was a big morning chalk-up article.
Oh, really?
It cost Ellie Turner's entire is big morning chalk-up article about how she spent half of her salary or majority of her yearly salary just to go to the CrossFit Games. I'm like, first off, just because you make $30,000 a year and you got to spend half of it, like chill. It's expensive for everyone. And if you want it to be cheaper, move to the United States. And she did. She just didn't officially do it. I don't know. What does the tax argument even make sense? Would that make sense if you pay taxes here? If you pay taxes in a place and you compete there, or your residency there? I don't know if that makes sense or not. I want it to sound good.
I don't know. I have no idea how that system works.
Huh?
You just want it to be political in some way.
I do. I really do. And I'll also say this. I have a very personal example of how CrossFit plays favorites. And I'll give you just one last example. On the quarterfinal show from 2021, when they did the same exact, or 2022, we did this show. We came up with alternative quarterfinals workouts, or we examined the programming of quarterfinals workouts. I don't even know, were you on that show, JR, when I did that on Sevan? It was the same workouts in 2022 as 2021. Same movement combinations, same order, strength tests, whatever. I had this show. This was like my debut as knowing anything about programming after I fucking blew my knee out. I was all sad. I was sitting at home studying programming because I couldn't do anything else but take Oxycontin and complain about my knee, basically.
Extra curmudgeonly.
Sounds like you're living the pretty normal American life these days.
So I got on the show with Sevan and was like, this sucks. It's terrible programming. They did the same exact thing as last year. And someone I know who's on seminar staff comes home from a seminar. I was a level 3 at the time, and I had like applied for an internship for seminar staff like twice. And they were like, sorry, we don't have any need in the area. So, we'll reach out when we do. Someone came back and was like, yeah, I was talking to the flow master this weekend and they said, you'll never get on seminar staff. I was like, what are you talking about? My heart fucking dropped into my stomach. That was like a big goal of mine to do an internship with seminar staff. And so like those words just came out of my mouth. I had no idea what they were talking about. My heart drops into my stomach. And they're like, yeah, apparently you did a podcast and we're shitting on CrossFit. And the guy's like, yeah, he has no fucking chance. He'll never get on seminar staff now. And that's a perfect example of me running my mouth and losing a potential opportunity because I did that, but it being based in no way on the merit of my capacity as a trainer or a coach, because I know for sure I'm qualified to at least intern. And they want to work with people that they like. So they play favorites. Sad story.
Boom.
It's definitely a subject change somewhat. Spin talked about this last night toward the end of their show, and I'm really excited if he puts out an article that dives into the statistical ramifications, because it's like way over my head. I'm sure Halpin and those guys could help him do it really easily. If all of the most fit women in Australia decide to sign up for quarterfinals, at least sign up and submit scores, they can probably manufacture another spot for that semifinal to get to the games, which I think would be an awesome story and something that we could really look to from, like, we talk about building community all the time. Look at how this community of elite athletes came together to get another spot for this region that a lot of people have been clamoring for, getting an extra spot for years and years and years. So if you have the ones that we know are going team now, Cara Saunders, DeRoy, if we have them still do the individual quarterfinals, and we have Tia and you have Ellie and you have Grace Walton and a lot of the up and comers with the high worldwide ranking, that would just be really cool to see. If all the best people sign up and they all compete, can they get another spot for Oceania to the games?
Oceania.
I
don't think it's a Hispanic place, bro. I don't think it's Hispanic.
that came out. Will's facial hair has been making me think essay the whole freaking show.
He does look like the kids.
I like it, dude. Leave that alone. Just like your mustache is now just kind of like, I mean, that's just you, which is I'm cool with. But you and I think about Jason, that will like sometimes have a little bit of facial hair, and sometimes he looks ridiculous without facial hair. He needs to keep that. Keep the facial hair. It like faint. Oh yeah,
dude. You look like you could be from El Salvador and you're like 13. Like you just hit puberty earlier than everyone else. And so you have that middle school facial hair. I love that. I look like I'm 102. LOL.
Hey, how old are you, Taylor?
Me?
Yeah.
Take a guess.
28.
Okay. So you knew how old I was.
Is John Young older or younger than you are?
I think he's older than me. I'm pretty sure John Young's like
Someone
34.
asked me. No, dude.
I'm kidding.
Someone asked me how old he was because like I went and looked at his games profile to see just like how long he'd been doing CrossFit or competing or anything. I mean, he's been around. He's been like signed up for the Open, I think, since like 2015 or 16. So like I would say he's late 20s, early 30s. There's still time, John.
I think he's early 30s.
I think he's 30.
30. Yeah, right at that 30, that dirty 30. We were talking about Oceania getting extra spots. Do we know what the allocation system is going to look like this year? That's one question. Question two, on that last CrossFit Game Show, they were talking about a strength of basically like a super semi where everyone would go to a semifinal and compete, and they would just take the top 40 scores on each side of the games, which I think is dumb because people aren't there racing one another. The layouts are different. The atmosphere is different. Like, say you had that South Central Regional in Utah and Salt Lake, and all of the scores are worse because it's at elevation.
Or
dumb
like
idea.
Or like at Torrey, and the carpet slid a lot easier on that surface.
It's a cool idea and concept.
Yes, but it wouldn't work. So do we know the allocation system though?
I don't think they've. Yeah, I don't think they've come out and announced any changes with like how strength of field and worldwide rank is gonna change in any way.
Who is this guy DeHunt, and why are they running into his backside? What is it? What is he talking about here? Running back. Is that an athlete? Who's the running back? Who does DeHunt play for? That's a method. Is this something Tyler Watkins would know about?
Are you being facetious or are you being serious?
I know it's some sort of like metric of counting, so I'm being partially facetious, but explain it to me.
I think he's going back through and running it based off of those women all competing to see if it would change the spot allocation.
Did they use the DeHunt method or they use their own type of bullshit?
They use DeHunt.
Okay, got it.
It's something like they get the minimum spots, they run the calculation, shoot out a spot to whatever region should get it based on the calculation, subtract that person from the pool, run the method again, shoot out a spot, something like that.
What's this redneck yelling about? Anyways, what is this is the other question I had. How much does it affect, I guess, the game's leaderboard that we now have 40 spots at the 2 North America semifinals? Are there still going to be 2 European semifinals? Or was it one last year?
It's one.
Oh my God. And it's only 40?
Yeah. So we've lost like a third of the semifinal spots for the 3 most competitive semifinals. Pretty sure that's correct.
I feel like, that's crazy. And Africa and Oceania are still 40 people.
I think it's more for them.
No, I think every single semifinal has 40 people in it.
That is retarded. I hate to use that word, but damn, give me a better word to explain that.
I don't feel super strongly about a lot of the athlete type stuff, not nearly as much as the programming and stuff like that. But I think when you sign up for the Open, you need to just declare if you're a team, someone with team aspirations or individual aspirations. I told you it was more. Don't just write me off like I know nothing.
I didn't write you off like you knew nothing, dude. I'm just shocked. Spell DEI.
I think when you sign up for the Open, you should just say whether you're a team athlete or individual athlete. And if you are a team athlete, you need to be removed. You need to be removed from the individual leaderboards. What do you care? What does it matter if you can still say, well, I still would have qualified. So if I wanted to qualify, I could have. I don't understand that. I don't understand why if it's 2 different things, it's clearly 2 different ways of training, 2 different ways to express competitive fitness. Why are we still lumping everybody together? Do you like being able to see all the team athletes on the individual leaderboards, knowing
No.
oh well that they're taking a spot that really doesn't matter?
I don't
Obviously,
give a fuck, no.
it was a lot more serious back when they went from open to regionals, right? And there was no quarterfinal stage, so you could kind of go through and be like, okay, well the top 30 are going to regionals, but hey, 17, 3, 16, and 29 are all on teams, I think. So they'll probably backfill to 4 or 5. Even then, you kind of wished that people would have just either been on team leaderboards or been on individual leaderboards.
Yeah, I don't. Again, how it. Yes, what you're saying makes sense, and that's how they should operate. But does that have any other than just ease of understanding it and breaking down the leaderboard? Does that doesn't make any difference as to what I'm still so emotionally hung up on, and that is America, East, West, and Europe got cut by 20 spots each, so they could add 10 spots to Africa and Asia. I'm sorry, I was in Africa last year. Awesome job the Rebel Renegade Games did, but let me tell you, the bottom 10, the bottom 20 in Africa now is going to be a bottom 30 extended further. Wouldn't have a chance of being top 300 in North America. Where are they going with that?
Where are they going? I mean,
this is sport.
This goes down a big rabbit hole, but it's worth saying. We saw how many females struggled with the ruck workout. We saw how difficult that was for some people. We saw how difficult it was for people in Europe, people in North America, people in Africa. If you are now increasing the field in some of those regions that clearly aren't as fit, are you going to keep the difficulty of the programming the same? Or are you going to make them more accessible? Because with 25% in quarterfinals and based on what Boz has said, and I'm sorry if I misquote him 100%, but if you're going to invite more people to the dance, you need to have some steps that they can all follow. Meaning, hey, if you're going to invite more people to quarterfinals, it wouldn't make any sense to make the workouts as hard or harder than they've been at quarterfinals. It makes sense to make them more accessible, at least in the beginning, where they can at least start the workouts and they don't have to say, okay, well, I can't do that one. I can't do that one. So if we just keep looking down and you keep projecting out, is the open going to be, we already know there's not going to be floor plans for the open. There's only going to be minimum distance requirements away from objects that could cause safety issues. So like, let's say that they do friendly Fran. There's just going to be, hey, you got to have a 5-foot tape line where your barbell has to be 5 feet away from your rig, whatever. Okay. That kind of thing. But we know they're doing away with floor plans for the open. So in quarterfinals, I think there'll be less floor plans and less strain of, hey, you got to have this here. You got to have this here. You got to have this here. No, I'm just really passionate. I'm shaking the table. I'm sorry. But if you just keep projecting that out, like at a semifinal level, are there going to be workouts where, hey, it's just this is a seconds matter sport. So they're going to be seconds matter workouts. And some of those athletes that qualify for a semifinal in those less fit regions are not just going to be standing around staring at something that they can't do. I don't know.
They're going to be standing around staring at something they can't do if they're taking the bottom, if they're taking another 10 bottom to Asia and Africa. I can tell you that.
Maybe it increases. I think the problem, I feel like the more problem is reducing the spots in the 3 big semifinals versus adding to the smaller. Because adding to the smaller is like, hey, if that brings in an extra 100 people to watch, then great. Like, who cares? But
it's at the expense of.
I don't think it's at the expense. I don't think they removed spots in the other semifinals to add them.
I just don't understand why, though, they did that.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right. I get what you're saying. It's not at the expense. But overall, for the games now, it is at their expense because there are athletes in both regions who finished worse in quarterfinals than the cut line now, and they're not going to make it. Well, Yellow Hoste, wasn't he? 47th in quarterfinals or some shit like that?
Yeah, I think so.
10th at the fucking games. What are they?
Again, and I mean, they got into it a little bit with the programming last night on Spin's show. And I know John was, one to voice concern of, hey, like the way the heavy workout is expressed usually will make or break some people's chances of even being on the border of whether or not they make a semifinal. So if they go back to, hey, one of the quarterfinals workouts is start a 20-minute clock and do the other total, which they've done before. It will all self-select itself. If you're one of the stronger people, you're going to get a better score. If you're one of the people that are 24th percent, you can still do all those things and say, well, I can do it. Let me just see if I can PR on those 3 lifts. So that's not something that eliminates them like a 275, 185-pound clean and jerk workout does at the beginning of a workout. So will we go back to seeing strength tested in an unfatigued setting because it allows for more people to be able to do it? Until Boz was coming along, we didn't see strength like that. At that type of stage, it was 4-rep max front squat. The age groups had the total 1 year for their online qualifier. They did the other total the year you competed. So, I mean, are we going to go back to seeing that? Or are we going to still see this idea of, hey, earn your fitness, earn your right to show that you're strong, gated ladder type formats? If you see workouts like that for every single workout, it's too predictable. It's not, it's really goes against variation. But if you're saying you're going to try to let everybody play at the beginning, they're either all going to be 15.5 or they're going to be something where you earn the right to show you're more skilled or stronger.
I'm squeezing my wiener because I have to pee so bad. So I'll just be back in a sec.
Oh,
I should probably wait till Taylor comes back to ask this, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you. There's 2 scoring submission windows for quarterfinals, but they say you're going to be given all the workouts as soon as the scoring window opens. You'll have all 5. You'll have to submit some from whatever, Thursday to Saturday or Wednesday to Saturday, and then you'll submit the other 2 from Sunday to Monday. Like how the open used to be when it was 5 weeks, and we kind of knew that week 1 and week 2 everybody could play, and then week 3 maybe you see the ring muscle ups come out. They used to come out a lot in week 3, or maybe in week 4 the things get a little bit heavier, a little bit higher skill, and then by week 5 everyone's just going to have to hurt. Do you think it would be smart for them, for signups, for drama, to release 3 of the workouts, give a 3-day window to complete them, and then release the last 2 and save the last 2 for the ones that it was like, okay, now it's time to separate the men from the boys and the women from the girls?
yeah. I like the second option. I like waiting to release some of them rather than releasing them all, for sure.
So it's not something I've really heard people say. And I know a lot of people push back and say, well, there's logistics. There's going to be some kind of floor plans. You've got to have enough judges in your affiliate. For the affiliate owners, they need to know kind of what to expect. But I think you would get just as many or more signups if you did it that way. People just kind of knowing, hey, I'm going to get these 3 workouts. You make them pretty accessible, but then you don't get the last 2 workouts until at the end of the first submission window. And then everyone still has 2 more days to do 2 more workouts. And you have some people maybe at that point say, dang, I'm not going to be able to do the 4th one, or I'm only going to be able to start the 4th workout. And after the 100-calorie row, I'm not going to be able to do 30 ring muscle ups after that, or whatever. So you have like we used to have week 4 and week 5 in the open kind of being no play, and doing it in the same way that we do that 5-day window for quarterfinals.
Do you think the open will follow that same trend that it used to follow? Week 1, super accessible. Week 2, a little harder. Week 3, highest skill.
No, I just think because it's 3 weeks, it's going to be challenging, but it's going to be something that everyone can at least do or attempt for all 3 weeks.
It kind of was that last year, though, wasn't it? Wasn't week 1 burpee pull-up shuttle run?
No, week 1 was the chipper that ended with the ring muscle ups. Yeah,
which is still super accessible to start.
Yeah.
Then week 2 is the burpee pull-up one arm thruster. Then week 3 is the snatch, handstand, push-up, wall walk, double under.
Yeah, which level of difficulty. Yeah, I mean, to your point, you could do most people could get through at least the row and the, depending on how good or bad they are at toes to bar, they could get to the rings, whether or not they got muscle ups or not. So you're still working out for the majority of that clock. The second week, burpee pull-ups are definitely hard for some people, but they could still do them at least. And then week 3, I would say, was the least accessible, because you've got people even from the beginning that are struggling with wall walks and snatches, and the general shoulder fatigue is so high that they can't even show that they can snatch the 135 or whatever, because they're not good at double unders or whatever.
And I think same in 2022, week 1, that wall walk dumbbell snatch box jump over, super accessible. Anyone can do those. It was such a low volume of wall walks paired with things that weren't interfering with it. At least week 2 was the deadlift burpee, which now it's like, oh fuck, it's 110 deadlifts at 225. That's way harder. And then week 3 was the thruster chest to bar double under bar muscle up, little 21-15-9, 21-18-15.
Yeah, it was a small number of double unders every time.
If that happens this year, what was week 3 last year was double under snatches. Yeah, who knows? Do you think we'll see thrusters in the open this year?
Yeah.
Dumbbell?
No.
Really? Barbell 3 years in a row.
If it's dumbbell,
I think we'll see single dumbbell thrusters.
There you go. If it's dumbbell, I think it'll be single arm with a 50.
Really?
Yep.
I think it'll be in the front rack position. Thruster dumbbells.
Goblet.
Yeah, bro.
Dumbbell thrusters.
Goblet.
Why so, JR?
Because I think it checks a lot of the boxes of, hey, if you walk into a gym, you're going to pretty much have what you need for the open. But I think that it makes it accessible enough to where most people, that's even a heavy unilateral movement for a lot of people. And then for the best in the world, they're going to be able to cycle it and move it fast. What would be really cool, and I think this would kind of require an equipment list, so I don't expect it. But Boz has talked about this on other podcasts that he's done about, the tendency that we have to always make things harder based on loading or based on skill versus making it lighter and just making it harder because you have to go faster and you have to go unbroken. Like how cool it would be if there was 100 dumbbell thrusters in a workout, but it was with 35s and 25s.
I love that.
So you actually make it lighter, but you make it hurt more. And the people who are still the fittest can still show that they're the fittest. So you get everybody out of that. Well, it needs to get heavier as it goes, and it needs to get harder as far as skill as it goes. But instead of doing it that way, you just increase volume for chin over the bar pull-ups, for lighter barbell movements, lighter dumbbell movements, stuff like that. And then you get a similar outcome, but it just kind of shows people that it doesn't have to be heavier or more difficult to be harder.
I think we see a dumbbell box step over for the first time, or a dual dumbbell box step up. I mean, the only other time there was
a open. I definitely think we
definitely
could see,
in quarterfinals.
Yeah, I think in quarterfinals. I don't know, man. Even the .com workout a couple of days ago really made me think about they're being really conscious of what the affiliate owners have said as far as logistics with like 25-foot space and all that kind of stuff. And the idea to me of having some sort of stationary lunge just really keeps coming back to me. Did you see the .com workout that was front rack lunges stationary with GHD sit-ups?
Yeah.
So I think whether they use a dumbbell, whether they use kettlebells, whether they use dumbbells, but having that lunge without having to set up a camera to where you can get that full 25 foot of space. And then it also eliminates to an extent, something that I'm really passionate about, which is we shouldn't be lunging for steps. We should be lunging for distance, because now you're taking something that gives the longer athlete a little bit more of an advantage, and you're now just making that a level playing field, because no matter how long or short your legs are, you still get credit for doing the same amount of work.
So you think that it should be for reps, not for distance?
No, it should be for distance. And if I have longer legs, maybe I just I guess get a 1-step advantage every time.
Agreed. Just like a wall ball target or a fucking burpee. I don't
Sure.
get to just go halfway down for a burpee because I'm taller.
So not because I think it levels the playing field, but because I think it makes the judging easier. You're not looking at someone from behind trying to judge hip opening on one trip on the lunge. And then when they come back at the camera, you're judging hip opening on a lunge from that view. So it takes out that part of it, that subjectivity, where, hey, if they're just doing step back lunges in place, I mean, we've seen other competitions do it. Rogue did it because of the rain with the Hulk hands workout.
Yep.
Wadapalooza did it on the barge,
Yep.
right? So I think, I mean, that movement, I think we see, whether we see it in the open or quarterfinals, I think we see it. And I think that's how we get lunges this year. We don't get lunges for distance.
No. Jumping squats in the open. No. Lunge muscle up workout. The lunge bar muscle up workout was 2017. Power clean, dumbbell power clean lunge, chest to bar muscle up.
That's correct.
You know, it was I did the Dubai CrossFit online challenge in 2019, maybe it was. Do you remember that? Josh Miller did it. The 10-minute AMRAP of single arm devil's presses.
Single arm double press. Yep.
Just watching that on my YouTube because my dog was a puppy at the time. And for the last 3 minutes, she was like, "Rrr, rrr, rrr," like barking around my heels, like jumping at me with no music in the gym. He's just doing this workout. It's funny.
Yeah.
So you think, I don't know. I'm just now trying to predict workouts based on who I have to fucking do these workouts against for the open week 1. Can I say this?
Gosh, I hope you do the ladder against Colton if there's a strength ladder.
What
I would
ladder?
love that. I would love if there was some sort of ladder, like a snatch ladder, and you did it against Colton. I just would think it would be awesome to do whatever the heavy is. I think it would be awesome if you did it against him.
Yeah, unless it's a heavy thruster.
No, I want to see that too.
Fuck you. Me versus Dallin, me versus Jason, me versus Colton. I feel like if it's me versus Colton, the space in the middle is so much smaller than me versus Jason or me versus Dallin. Like there's very little middle ground with me and Colton. It's either he's way better at some things or I'm way better at some things. And whereas I would say for me and Jason, it's probably somewhere in the middle, and then me and Dallin, it's probably the middle ground is probably the largest.
I don't know. Maybe you're flattering yourself with your fitness level right now.
Okay. Yeah, I probably am. Probably going to get butt fucked. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to die. I'm going to kill myself. There's that.
No, I think they'll be really entertaining. Bill said that he went and did almost like an experimental, like an old school coaches prep course.
Yep.
This past weekend, and Dave was there. And the one thing he said about Dave was how like giddy he almost sounded for the open in the workouts. Like he's just super excited about them, that they're gonna be good. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they are.
Yeah, me too. Think we'll see any high skill, or is it just all gonna be this?
I think the idea that they have forgotten that the open is about testing yourself. It's not supposed to be a training day. It's supposed to be testing yourself.
Yep.
So I think the idea that people have that there's not going to be anything but burpees and box jumps is silly. I think for sure they're going to test the community, whether it's like, can you get your first bar muscle up, or it's like, can you get handstand push-ups a strict handstand push-up, like something like that. I think for sure is still going to come up.
Yeah, I'm stoked. This is going to be so much fun. 1, because I like all 3 of them. 2, because I'll openly talk shit to all 3 of these little nerds. 3,
the picture is going to be the most crisp thing ever because of the guy on the screen and the
Press
sexy
publish
blue
hat.
hat.
Yeah, it's going to be a crisp stream, and it's going to be, I'm going to pin myself to the floor in each one. So
in week 2 at Crash, if the picture isn't crisp, then we know 100% that it's because my internet is garbage. Because what you put out at Charlotte for the Wadapalooza workouts was like I was watching it on Espen.
Espen. We'll love Espen.
Aspen. Yeah, I'm doing machine intervals every night so that I can just be ready. That's all I'm doing. Zone 2. Hour zone 2. That's all my training is right now. Zone 2. Couple
All right, guys.
push-ups.
It was fun.
Let's get off.
Make sure you guys go to hebrcbd.com. Homegrown relief. Contact Patrick Mitrovich, State Farm Insurance, 803-818-6980. That is 803-818-6980. Sponsors of the show, wouldn't be here without them. If you guys are interested in sponsoring us, please reach out. We're looking for more. We
Only if you're rich.
We got to make sure Taylor can pay the bills.
Funny, guys. See ya.